I was just going to say that according to the tombstone, it's all about the dash.
It's all about the dash.
Well, I haven't ended yet, I guess.
Greetings, everyone. We've got some early birds today. It's nice. Bit of early banter was going on. Very good. Hello, Heather.
Hey Grant,
It's
how are
good
you?
to see you.
It's nice to see you, Justin. It's good to talk to the Jameses.
Yeah, we're trying to figure out if we're related or not, but not entirely sure.
Well, you both don't have a dash in your name. At the end of your name is the label. So you are related. Yes. Yes, buddy. I was playing around with labels last week and left it in an awkward state. So that's what's happened. All right. Have we got some questions, Heather?
Yeah, we have a few
Sweet.
from Robin to start us off with.
Okay.
So she thinks that she might have found a bug when she was creating a new thank you page. She selected her previous one and it brought up the purchase page instead of the thank you page.
Okay. Um, the previous one.
There was a time when my available templates kind of
Hmm.
crossed between purchase page and thank you pages. That may be the issue.
It probably was. You've seen that resolved, Muddy?
Yeah, I actually wanted to use a template from a purchase page because the logo and label, the everything
Yep.
was the same. But when on a thank you page, when I went to look at my previous templates, I got a message saying you don't have any events that have a thank you page. So now they are aligned.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's how it should. That's how it should be. So there's some of these finer finer adjustments that are happening almost in real time, and so um, that that particular experience should not happen again, Robin. So it'll be good to confirm that if you see it again, but it shouldn't. There are things that we've been pushing those changes as we've seen them pop up.
I checked on all the different dashboards I had, and none of them brought the thank you page up. Just the purchase page when I tried to select the one I already did.
Mm.
When I was creating a new one,
Uh-huh.
and I toggled over to see the ones I had previously created myself, it would never bring the thank you page. It only, even though it said thank you page, it wouldn't bring the thank you page, and it would only bring the purchase page up. The previously created purchase page.
Okay, and this is in editing mode, right? Like you're trying to edit it. Is that
Yeah,
what you're
I was trying to select a template.
Okay.
So when I toggled over to select the template that I had already created, it brought up the purchase page and not the thank you page, even though I was under the thank you page.
Okay. 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 I'll make a note of that. I'll try to replicate that myself. I'll have a little play. Let's see what's going on there, because obviously it's that is not what should be the intended experience. So I'll double check that. Cool. You've got another question, Heather? There's another one there.
Yeah, so when she was doing her communications email, that was sent out when she selected test, but it did not send out at the scheduled time. They also did not include the personal magic link. She also added the URL to reach the dashboard directly, but that took her straight to the login page instead. Can we look at that?
Yeah. Should we? We'll look at your. I can look at. I can bring it up, or you can bring it up.
It doesn't let me share.
Right. We can fix that. Okay. Yeah. You can go.
It also didn't include the first name of the two attendees that were in there. It came up with some random name, which I thought was
That's what test does.
okay.
All right. So the first thing to note is that it wasn't set to publish. So it means it wasn't enabled.
It didn't let me click on any of these things.
Yeah, you can't click on that. So if you just go to the end there and click edit. So at the top there, it's set to draft.
Okay. Gotcha.
So you have to set that to publish.
Okay.
And then you've got the name and the login URL there. So if you are, when you're doing a test and you're sending a test to someone that's not, like an address that's not in your attendee list,
Yeah.
then it has to just make up. It doesn't know what the first name is, doesn't
Okay.
know what the last name is. It also doesn't know what the login URL is. So the test is simply just to see what it looks like as an email.
Okay.
And so it uses dummy data to fill in those fields. Now, a little trick is that if you create an attendee with the test email address that you want, then it will use that data.
Okay.
Which means now you'll see it exactly as it would be. And it actually serves as a really easy way to resend an email to someone. You can use the test function, put their email address in, and it will send them the actual email.
Okay.
So that's a nice little trick there that you can use.
I'll try it again. But shouldn't the URL have, did I do the wrong URL? I put in what I set up on the settings page, I think, the college masterclass for it, zoomiverse.com. Shouldn't that have taken them right to the dashboard since they're already registered as an attendee?
No. Well, so what you've got there, if you were to click on that as a link, that the link that you've got there, just show what that actually is. That one, is that a link?
It is it's the URL, and it takes me to.
I understand that it's a URL, but it's not actually linked, right? And it's not the login URL, so it hasn't got the token at the end of it for people to automatically log in.
When I sent it, when the test email went out, I clicked on it and it took me to the login page.
That's right. It will do that.
I didn't want it to do that.
No. But see how you've got login URL at the start of that paragraph?
Yeah. Isn't that the personal magic link?
Yes.
I thought this one here was the general one. Like when you guys send out the email for Leap and it has our personal one and then it has the general one that takes us to the dashboard. I thought that's what this one was. No.
So you're talking about the same things. A general link will take them to a login page because it doesn't know who they are. The personal link will take them to their dashboard. So the login URL that you've got there at the start of the paragraph is the
Yeah.
personal link that will take them to the dashboard.
So
The general link that you have there will just take them to the login page.
So which link is it that automatically sends us into Zoom? Because when we get the emails from Leap, one goes right into the Zoom and one goes to the dashboard.
Okay, so now you're talking about now you're talking about a link that is what is called the Zoom areas or Zoom rooms registration link, and that's different to having attendees go to the dashboard.
Okay, so Muddy was shaking his head no. So I'm obviously not remembering correctly what I log into. But I know one of them is just my link, and then one of them is not just my link. Correct. I don't know how to say it. Like, I'm sorry. Like,
it's clear how confused you are.
I know we get two links when we get the emails. One, sometimes, if this one doesn't work, you can log in over here. I just want to make sure that they can get in case something doesn't work right. And I'm clearly not using the right links.
So Robin, you two are talking, you two are actually talking the same exact thing. So that login URL, the underscore, is the magic link that takes you right to the dashboard. That's what Leap sends out. The second link, when Leap sends it out, takes you to the page to log in case the magic link doesn't take you right to your dashboard. That second general link that Grant is talking about that is highlighted right now takes you to the dashboard where you have to put in your email and your password, and then you get into the dashboard. Same way Leap does it.
Okay. So I just didn't know what I was talking about, but I was doing it right. Thank you.
Somewhat. Yeah. I mean, thank you, Justin. I think that the confusion though is you're talking about going straight into Zoom, and I don't think you were getting that link.
No, I'm probably I'm forget I said that. I'm probably wrong. Yeah. I'll go with Muddy's. Yes, I'm not correct, and that's okay. I'm all right with that. Well, I just thought I don't remember hitting the main stage button, but maybe I did.
Okay. Well, it is the best experience, really, I think, because it takes people through a dashboard, which means you've got some control over what they see when they get there early.
Yeah.
What they see afterwards. You can have other downloads and things available and that sort of thing. So so the thing with this email is that the link that you have there, the Zoomiverse link, you want to replace that with the login URL so that that's what they're clicking. And so you can create links. The words can be different to what the actual link is. So you just need to think about if you could even do a button. You can create a button that is the login here or dashboard here or whatever, and that's a good approach. So you just want to think about that. At the moment, you've got two different links. So that Zoomiverse one is only going to take them to the login URL. It won't know who they are.
Okay.
The login underscore URL is what will be replaced with their personalized link.
Okay.
Do you know it's tricky, isn't it? Because it's like you mentioned, several problems, that happened, and it's right, and that is what can be hard sometimes, is that there's actually unrelated things that cascade, the problems cascade, and it feels like nothing's working. But yeah, the publish toggle at the top is really key. The testing, if it's not an attendee in the list, then the testing is going to use random data. And the login URL is really what you want to send. If you have all of your attendees and you're just reminding them,
Yeah.
then that's what you want to do. You just want the login URL. It's going to take them straight in the magic link. So
Okay. I knew they were very simple things I probably missed, but I couldn't figure out what they were. And I couldn't click on the little circle that said published on the page. So okay, thanks. That answers all my questions. I appreciate that.
cool. You're welcome. All right. Next question.
So Robin's
Can I add something real quick? One of the things that sometimes, well, right now, if someone put the general update.obv.io link in the chat and we clicked it, we would go to our dashboard because we've already signed into that dashboard. And so that's one of the things that may be causing a little confusion from your past experience, Robin.
Yeah.
Is that if you had been logged into an event and that's saved in the cookies of your browser, and you click on the general link for that event, it's like, oh, I do know you. I'm taking you into the dashboard. But generally, everything that Grant said is a good way to think about it, that general link always takes them to the login link. If they happen to have been signed in on another browser, it will then forward them into the dashboard. But generally speaking, that general link will only ever take them to the login.
Makes sense, because when I try to log in on my phone, it doesn't remember me, and then I can't log in because I don't know my password. So yeah, that makes sense. Thank you.
Yeah, it's a good point, Marty. And really the only time we really use that and are confident that it's going to work is when we're sharing it from within Zoom, because the only way that someone could access that is because they've come through the dashboard. So we know they're logged in on that device, that they're using Zoom. That's the only time we would use that with confidence. Otherwise, you'll have exactly that example, Robin, where people use a different device and doesn't log them in, and then they're confused. So yeah, good one. All right, next question.
So Robin wants to know, with a free event, if she creates a ticket, she'll send them the purchase page link for that, correct? So she no longer has to use the sign up link anymore.
That's correct. Yeah, if you're, it depends on what the experience that you want them to have. The sign up page is a great option for just getting people in quickly for a free event, but it's not a marketing page. You know, like it's not trying to get people to convince people to sign up. You've already convinced them. They're coming to that sign up page, and that just gets them in, and it's done. So the purchase page now, the marketplace, even for a free event, is actually about marketing the event and convincing people to actually go through and do that. So it's a different. They're different functions. I guess they serve the same purpose in the end, of getting people into Obvio and signed up into Obvio for a free event. And really there's the overlap of that. Obviously the main reason for the marketing purchase page is the purchase part is actually selling tickets. That's the key reason. But we have enabled free, so you can use it as a marketing tool and be able to send people directly to that to convince them to sign up for your event.
I set up a video on the purchase page, so that's why I was thinking I would use it for the free event. And when I sent the link to a different email address, it didn't let me. Oh no, I take it back. It did. It just took a really long time. Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, cool. Sweet. Okay, next question.
Muddy has several questions about the awesome new marketplace editor, one including the purchase page and another about the text boxes not maintaining their size. He's willing to share his screen.
Yeah, so Muddy, Blue is tied up in another event, but he may jump in, and I'd kind of like him because he's spearheading all of the marketplace updates. So let's hold off for a little bit if you've got time. And if he doesn't make it, then we can still do it, and then I'll send in the recording on it. So that it'll be really handy. So we'll stand by on that one.
Okay.
Next one.
Becky has a couple of questions. First one, on my BizBlitz today, people were getting errors clicking on an old Obvio link from previous week's emails. I removed their Obvio tag, but had to add it back by the time they had tried clicking on the old link. Also, the timer that worked under the apps was giving me errors as well as an error code. As a matter of fact, none of the apps were pulling up when I was logged in as my BizBlitz live event. Do you know what's happening?
Okay, so a couple of different things there. What was the old Obvio link? Was it a different event than the new one?
No. So one of the things is because different people come every week. And so what I do is at the end, if they don't re-sign for the next week, I go and delete the Obvio tag in Go High Level for all those people. And then when I'm sending emails out, I'm saying, hey, do you want to join us this week? Right. And some of them were like, well, I'm just going to find the old email with the link. But by the time they clicked on it, I actually had gone back in and added the Obvio tag to them again. So there shouldn't be a reason why they'd be getting an error. Because they were on my side in Obvio showing that they were attendees.
Except that they're getting a new login URL.
Yep, but it should be exactly the same URL from a previous week.
No, not if the attendee has been deleted, which is what would be happening. So they'd be being removed from Obvio, and
well,
so.
But by the time they clicked on that same one from an old one, I had already added the tag on, so it should have worked.
Yep, but it's a new attendee at that point. So even though they're so let me explain this process. When an attendee, a first name, last name, email as a minimum is added to Obvio, then a unique token is created for that attendee. It stays there for as long as that attendee is in Obvio. When that attendee is deleted, even if the same email address is recreated, a totally unique token is created, which means that the old one is dead and will generate errors because it doesn't exist anymore.
Okay, so the tokens are the what's different, and that creates the unique. So the other way of doing that is not doing a magic link, but just doing a regular link to the dashboard.
Well, you'd still need a way to get people. They'd still need a way to be able to get in, which would be using a generic password, perhaps. But the sign up could also work for that sign up page. Or you don't actually delete the attendee in Obvio. You just change the tags. And that way that the link would maintain.
Because then it would have, because that's kind of how I'm tracking it in Go High Level right now, is that the people that have signed up or re-signed up for it, then I can just look up the Obvio tag and I show everybody that it's coming. So that I've had confirmation that it's coming. So if they add last second and say, hey, I want to be added in last second, you're saying that they're going to have to go to a new email that I send out manually with the magic link on it.
I think that I would be trying to do a different tag that is not deleting it out of Obvio, deleting the attendee out of Obvio, so that the link maintains. And then just using a different tag. So at the moment, using Obvio, when you remove Obvio, it's updating Obvio and deleting the attendee, correct?
I'm manually going in and deleting the tag. Because that's when I was talking to Blue about that, he's like, well, that's what you do. You just delete them and then they delete out of the attendees. But when they add last second and say, hey, are you coming today? Then yeah. Well, and then they go to the old link from last week. It doesn't work. So I had to resend them the email. Because if I left them, see, this is just a test run right now, but eventually people will be able to come for one time and be able to experience it. And then they can do the subscription or they can do whatever. So they are going to have to be removed. I can't just, because they could come in anytime they want, right? If they're not paid.
But then you do want them to be able to return.
I do want them to return, but
To sign up
eventually,
again.
right now I'm not charging anything, but eventually, I would want them to return. It's going to have some kind of tag that they've purchased, and then it sends them out a new email. I mean, otherwise, or I don't use the magic tag. I mean, the magic link. I just use the dashboard link, and then they'd always be able to get in as long as they're an attendee, right?
Yeah, I think one of the things with this is just what is most important. And I don't think it's a high priority to allow people to use an old link to be able to enter the event. If you're making it really clear, as Muddy's saying, making it really clear that this is a one-time use only or one-time link for this event.
Even though they could come in again.
Well, not necessarily. If you're deleting them, if you're deleting that tag, then that will remove them from Obvio, and now that old link won't work anymore, which may be a security that you want. There's a few ways to make this happen. That's the thing, is just making it really, really clear what you want the experience to be, right? And so the problem that you're trying to solve is a rare exception, at least the one you've asked me about, which is someone using an old link, from a previous email.
So when you guys come in, you redo for this call every week. I think Blue explained it to me that this is the same Zoom open area, right? And we come in every week. Of course, he sends us a new email, and that's usually where I come through. So I don't go to the old emails for Obvio calls and come in, right?
You could.
But it would work with the magic link.
Yeah, because it hasn't changed.
Because you don't delete me, right?
But I feel like we might be asking the wrong question. So
Okay.
the question is, how do you get people to not come into Zoom if they haven't paid? And you could do that with visibility rules. So they could still come in the dashboard, but if they haven't paid, your buttons to go into Zoom don't show up. Instead, they get a button that takes them to a sales page or someplace for them to pay to get in. And if they've paid, they get the Zoom buttons. Very much kind of like a general versus VIP, or all of those visibility rules you can put on the buttons, I think would solve your problem of the magic link never changes.
So on the dashboard.
On the dashboard. And they still get in the dashboard. They just get a different experience if they haven't paid. Things get hidden on the dashboard if they haven't paid. And if they have,
and that's then tagged in Go High Level if they paid or.
Yeah, you would use those tags that you're already using. Just don't delete anybody. If your intent is to have them come back in and be able to get into an old email, and you only want to prevent them from coming into Zoom, the visibility rules would do that for you.
Okay, visibility rules. Okay. All right. So then I don't have to worry about going and deleting people.
Not until you hit 500.
Up to 500. Okay.
Well, it's 500 live.
Yeah, but all of those previous people would have been. So it's actually it just keeps adding. So up to 500 active attendees, and they were active at one point, and so that just continues on. And that's
so
where
you're saying, okay.
Yeah. that's where some people run into trouble when they're reusing an event. Is that you're kind of dragging this backlog of people that were active, just in case they want to get back into the dashboard, which is fine, except it just depends what your numbers are like. And if you're accumulative, getting up to 500, then you start paying every time to get over 500 just to be able to keep that backlog of people. Whereas when you delete those people, that number obviously comes down, right?
Okay, so you're saying the other thing though is if I don't delete them, then they show on my active attendee list when I go in there, because I do like to go into Avio and go, okay, those are the people who confirmed that they're coming, because they're all in Avio.
Mm-hmm.
So I would have a whole bunch of people in there that I don't know who's coming and who's not, because it's kind of important. I know who's coming.
That's fair enough. So then that's how you would need to tag them differently. So you're still doing your sign up in high level, right?
Yeah.
So how you do that sign up and create the tag is having an extra tag to say that it's, this Wednesday, the 12th of, whatever. You could say it's this unique event. And now when you go into Obvio, you can filter by that tag, and now you will see just those people.
Okay.
In
Obvio with the tag.
In Obvio with the tag. Yeah.
Okay. And then the other question I had was, do you know why the apps weren't working when I was under my event versus, the apps are working fine here, but when I was logged in, it wasn't working.
Apps. Specifically, what apps are you talking about?
The timer one. Because I time like the minute timer. Because they're showing up right now, but they weren't, it was just giving me an error when I logged into my own.
Grant, I had that same experience last week with an Avio call I was running, where I'd click on the apps and it was throwing some kind of an error instead of showing any apps at all.
Yeah.
I figured you guys maybe had just turned them off somehow in the Zoom settings.
No. Yeah, go Muddy.
Yeah, because it worked last.
So Zoom apps are turned off on Avio events. We've talked about this extensively in the past, because it requires kind of authentication at the account level. The timer app is different. And the trick is the way you pull up the timer app is not by clicking the apps button. If you click the view button where you would switch between speaker view and gallery view, at the bottom of that list, it says view timers or show timers. And when you do that, then the little meeting time shows up next to it. Like initially it shows like cumulative time in the meeting or something like that. But then once that little meeting timer is visible, then you can click on it and bring up the timer app to be able to do a stopwatch or countdown or something like that. So it's just how you pull it up the first time.
Okay, so that's where you're saying the view. Great. Okay, so right there where the view and then hide meeting timer. I don't see where it is, but
yeah, it's just still in the top bar across over a little bit from the view button. When you click show meeting timers, you'll see it there. Then when you click on the timer, you can change it to time remaining, and then you can set that.
Okay, but will that show that little round thing in my window?
Yes.
And show that I have 1 minute?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, which is separate to apps.
Okay. I don't know why it's not letting me.
Well, you're not a host in this. You're not a host in this meeting.
Oh, okay. So in a host, I can put it in there. Okay. I'll try that one.
Great.
Thank you.
All right. Next question.
Miriam wants to know, when creating an event and or sales page, can we change the dates after it's created?
creating event sales pages. Yes.
So what
Yep,
I'm
yep,
what I'm
go
trying
ahead.
to figure out is in order to do the marketing that I'm looking at doing, before I have my big 3-day event, I'm gonna have some other smaller events that I'm gonna make sales pages for. Okay. And right now, I don't know the exact day of the event. So when I'm creating the events, I have to put in that start date and finish date. Once I do that, am I able to go back and change it?
Yeah. Uh, so in the event settings where
Mm-hmm.
it's start and end, at the moment, the only thing that affects, the only thing is using Zoom. And so it has no impact on your marketplace pages
Mm-hmm.
or people signing up or any of that. It's only when you actually go to open Zoom,
Okay.
it needs to be within that window. Which means that you can actually set it, particularly for, variable events like you're talking about. You can just set that window really wide. It's something that we're looking at. It's a bit of a pet peeve of mine at the moment, is I think that we can actually change that. Because now when we're creating these huge windows, like we're making it a year long, it kind of means nothing. That data is useless because
Right.
it doesn't tell us anything. It doesn't really tell you anything about when the event's actually happening. And so, but it's the way that it works at the moment, and it's all because we totally changed it to being unlimited and do as many as events and for as long as you like.
Mm-hmm.
So the best thing is create a really big window, and then you'll be fine to use it whenever within that window.
Because I know that thinking back, it had something to do with to make sure that the window was open so that you could send the SMS texts and things directly from Obvio, right? Because if the window, right, and the
Yeah. Yes. Yes. That. Yes. You've caught me on a technicality. That we need to look at as well, because we do have limitation on before the event and then during the event and then after the event. But actually, when it's an event day, you can send 3 emails in that day,
Mhm.
in an event day, and so then you're fine as long as 3 is okay. Then you're able to send those 3. Now it's 3 emails per person, right? So when you're sending into filtered groups,
Mhm.
it's tracking how many times each person has actually received that email. So you might have 10 emails that go out to different segments of people, but only
But only 3 per person. Okay, that makes sense.
exactly.
And
Yeah.
so that was part of the question. And then with the sales page, sorry, I'm so tired today.
Okay.
So when I do the sales page, because I haven't even looked at it at all since we had the overview with Blue. On that, am I able to change the date, the dates that sales page is visible after it's already
Yes.
been created?
Yes. Yes, you can.
Okay.
Yeah.
All
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, and so that you could say that this event has now passed, or the purchasing window has passed. You could do that. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. All right.
Mm.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank
You're
you,
welcome.
everyone.
No worries.
So we have
All
a
right.
question from Kat.
Yep.
She wants to know how might we make our sales page stand out? How might she be able to compel them visually to look deeper into attending?
Yeah, we have tried to create the tools to be able to create whatever it is that you would want to. Meaning, when we have, and actually a lot of our testing process has been copying big enrollment-based events. So one of the testing processes I went through is I went to a Tony Robbins sign-up page and I recreated it in Obvio. And so there was all of the different elements that you see, all those different blocks and sections have been copied from kind of industry standard ways that people are doing sign-up pages. And so it's all of those different things, the bullet points, the videos, different photos, and having links to the purchase section multiple times. Often you see that. Often you see long pages is a standard with these things now. People are not generally clicking off to different pages. It's one single page that's very long and it has all the information there. And the idea is that it's, and Blue and Barry could speak more intelligently about the process that you're going through to sort of convince someone to sign up. But I would encourage you to be looking at lots of these types of events, searching for coaching, things like that. They're really large scale events, and see how they create their sales pages, and copy some of that mentality. It's kind of, a bunch of content purchase, a bunch of content purchase, sort of having the button repeated, because it seems to be that it's a process for people, that they get some sort of content. Oh, that's convincing. Yep, I'll purchase. Oh, I'll keep going. Oh yeah, I will purchase. Or, and so there might be 5 or 6 key content sections that you have that are compelling, for the reasons that people would buy.
Fran, do you believe that those pages for the really big events are also applicable for smaller, more intimate online events?
I think generally the axiom is, if it works big, it works small.
Okay.
And but I guess there could be an exception to that in the communication style that you want. And so I guess I don't think it's the amount of content. I think it's the type of content. And so sometimes, if it works big, it works small idea is the structure of the communication. What will be for you to determine is the communication style, and whether that's trying to come across as a huge, big third party thing, or if it's more personal, and that can literally be whether this is first person communication or third person communication, and if it's really like from me to you, this is what I want you to feel, or third person of obviously understand what that means, but just the idea that it's like, Grant is this amazing coach, you really need to sign up. These are the reasons that Grant is going to help you, and Grant's going to do this, whatever it is, right? Versus, I am here to assist you. And I think there's some interesting psychology in both those approaches. This is the same with biographies, right? When you write a biography for your page, for your website or socials or whatever, do you do it in the first person or do you do it in the third person? And I think there's pros and cons for both.
Thank you so much.
Sure. All right. Next question.
Esther wants to know who she can consult when she gets stuck in the middle of creating something on Obvio.
it depends if you're paying or not. No, look, so you can definitely it's the reason that we do these weekly calls, right, is for really specific questions. And I get that weekly is not enough for, when you're wrestling with something and trying to work something out. But there is the Facebook group, and we tend to have different people who will respond to whatever it is that you're wrestling with. We have the help@obv.io email address, and there's a few of us that will reply to emails there. There's live chat during Eastern business hours is in the app as well. So there's a few things there. And then there is a handful of people that you could have some sort of arrangement with them to help you make it happen. If you did want to have someone do it for you or assist you in it, that sort of thing, then people like Justin and Muddy and there's others that could actually help you make it happen.
Okay, so is it possible to have the contact information on those people that we can consult when we are stuck?
Yeah,
Or
so
we want to learn something from it.
The best way to do that is through the Facebook group. Are you in the?
Is that the Leap? Which Facebook
No.
group? No, I haven't
No,
got any of the Facebook groups yet.
Okay. Well, let's sort that out. So I'll get you the link to the Obvio group. Make sure that you're in there. And then you can post, that it can be a specific question that you have or a general idea. And then people like Muddy and Justin and others will likely respond on that post. And then you could direct message them from that place. That's probably the easiest way to rather than sharing contact information. We are actually, just as an aside, after 4 years, we're nearly got our public website going that actually tells people what Obvio is. And on that page, we're going to have some production partners or kind of Obvio partners as a link to different people that could help people run their event. And so that's something that we're going to be adding soon, particularly for mainly for people that are enterprise users and that are offering services. Oh, thank you. Someone already. Thank you, Heather.
What is the link to go to the Obvio Facebook page?
Facebook group. Yeah, it's just in the chat.
Is it just?
It's in the chat. Heather posted it. And I'll just post it again. So there it is, right at the bottom.
Okay.
And so if you click on that and you're logged into Facebook, then you should be able to join that group. And then you'll be able to post in there.
Okay.
And Justin, Muddy, anyone else is welcome to direct message, even in Zoom right now, to Esther and share contact details and whatever.
Okay. Thank you.
Sure. You're welcome. All right.
So right now we only have Muddy's question for Blue pending.
Yeah, okay. And he's away from his desk now anyway. You're doing a spot of gardening, are you, Muddy? Is that what's happening?
That's exactly right. If you call weed whacking gardening, but yeah.
I like your I like your multitasking. It's impressive. Well, let's yeah, Blue's still tied up. So I'll try not to comment too much on it, but if you can share your what you're experiencing, then I can share that with Blue. Plus people will probably learn a little bit more about marketplace as well. So
Yeah, sure, I'd be happy to. All right, let me share my, well, first I'll tell you what's happening and then I'll show you. The quick word is I'm working with John McIntyre, who's here on the call, and putting a sales page together. Really, one of my first chances to put done a fair amount of testing, but put together a live sales page, and really happy with the tools. Marketplace is great. And one of the things that is useful is being able to kind of switch between preview and live view. So, editing and then preview. And I found that, quick pro tip, I found that I can keep the preview page open in a new tab. When I make new edits, I just go back to the preview and refresh it, and I can see those edits. So that's all working well. One of the things I noticed in the template is there's a section in the template that's a content block I hadn't used previously or hadn't even really noticed previously, called grid. And a grid content block, as I understand it, is essentially a container that allows you to put other content blocks within it. And in the template, it's really useful because it shows two speakers with their photos and their names and then their bios. So you can kind of structure it nice and neat. One thing I noticed when I was working in the content block is that I had 4 text blocks side by side. A couple of them had more text than the others. So I kind of sized it to the largest one, and then took the other text blocks and sized them down to match, so that it would kind of, because I put a border around it, so you could kind of see all of them. Let me show you. And so I'll bring up Chrome window. Okay, so here we are in the editor, and this is John's event sync to scale. And this is all working great. And it gave me a chance to show John how to do some editing as well. This section here is where I have the grid content type. So this outer, there's an outer, it's hard to tell, there's an outer dotted line. You can see it down here at the bottom. And inside that dotted line is a number of other elements. We've got a title block, we've got an image block, a couple more title blocks, and John's formula is sync, S-Y-N-C. And so here's kind of each of the, as opposed to like day 1, day 2, day 3, here's the method. And so below sync, we have some kind of content blocks for each of these elements. Now, what was happening is I had these sized to kind of the largest content block, or this was, and then I was matching these other ones to be the same depth. Now, what was happening is when I would go over to preview this, which I have in a new tab, and I refresh just as a good thing to do. When I would come down here and disregard that, that's the next question. What was happening is these two text blocks, even though the editor was showing that they were the same height, they were coming through a little bit shorter. It was just kind of one notch up. And what I did to rectify this, because you can see now they're all the same length, is I actually made these first two a little bit longer, a little bit taller, and then I matched it with these others. And I think what was happening is that within the content blocks, there's a buffer. And I think there was something interacting between the size of the text block and the buffer. Even though it looked the same in the editor, it was not the same. in the preview page. Now that problem has resolved. What I discovered, and this is really where the root of my question is, what I discovered is a new issue. When I went into mobile, well, I'll first start with this. So I wanted to preview mobile. So I can switch on mobile and it shows me the editor view. Everything's looking good. There's some, like the image I turned off, it's desktop only, so it doesn't show up anymore. This is all looking good. Now there's a little bit of weirdness happening in this section where there is a grid content block. I end up with these real weird, tall blank spaces. Now they don't show up in the preview, but they do show up in the editor. Whatever, that's just a little weirdness. But what I noticed is that, let me switch this to all to show you, is in this grid content type, everything was getting cut off on mobile. So I was like, okay, so I resized it for mobile because my understanding is when I'm in mobile editor view, whatever I resize really only applies to mobile. But then when I went in to preview this in mobile and preview it back in desktop, it got really weird. So pro tip, the grid content block doesn't seem to resize dynamically very well between desktop and mobile. So the way I resolve this, or the way I'm trying to resolve this, is I built two sections. I built this vertical, this 4-column format for desktop. But then if I scroll down, I built, I have to make it visible in all. I built a second version of this in kind of long form so that they're stacked on top of each other as opposed to columns, because this worked a lot better for the mobile view. So now I have one version that I want to be desktop only. Here's the real question, the real problem. I have a section, and in the section settings, I'm saying I want this section to view only on desktop. And then this next section down here, which is the same content, just organized in a different way, I want this to be mobile only, right? So they'll see the 4-column format on desktop, and they'll see the stacked version on, so that should work. The problem is when I go to preview and I refresh this, what should happen, go up to the top here, what should happen when I get down to this section, I should not be seeing this on desktop. This is the mobile only version. I'm seeing the mobile only version and I'm seeing the desktop version, and I should only be seeing the desktop. I shouldn't be seeing this in this view. Okay. The next question I had was how to actually preview something on mobile. And here's how I figured out how to do it is if you make the page narrow enough, shrink, at some point, it pops into mobile view. Now I found I still have to refresh it in order to get kind of a clean view of this.
We're not seeing that. You're sharing.
Oh, you're not seeing this right now? Okay, let me stop the share and restart. And I'll just share the screen.
Yeah.
Okay. So what I did, when it's wide and I refresh, I'm seeing the desktop preview. And then if I make this page narrow, at some point it snaps to mobile preview. So this is a pro tip. If you're trying to preview mobile, just make your tab narrower and narrower, and then ultimately your window narrower and narrower. Ultimately it pops. So I refreshed, but you'll notice when I scroll down, all this looks good. The images that I have set to desktop only are not showing in mobile. this section, which is the mobile view of the sync methodology. This is working just fine. It looks good on mobile, but I also have this section below. So probably just a little bug that the section settings for mobile and desktop don't seem to be tracking. But when I first submitted the question, I wasn't sure how to preview a page in mobile, wasn't sure why the pages weren't, or the text boxes weren't. I've solved some of those, but anyway, that's the final issue I'm still experiencing, is that the section settings for desktop or mobile don't seem to be sticking when I go to preview mode. And just to be sure, I went to the actual live sales page link and the same thing is happening. So
Same thing.
you know,
Yeah. Okay, that's great. So a couple of things there is that yes, there's some filtering that's not quite working on the desktop and mobile. There's been a lot of there was a lot of work done, as you know, in marketplace in general, and then there's in more recent days has been all the mobile specific stuff, and there's a couple of little tweaks that still need to happen. So you're exactly right about forcing the preview by changing the window size, and then needing to refresh, because the experience on a mobile device is based on the screen size. It knows that the screen size is once it gets a threshold down to a mobile size, then the page will always load like that at the right size, and so it knows on the right device it's going to happen that way. What we will implement is a mobile view for the preview. So it'll be a full size page, but with a skinny section in the center that's showing what the mobile view will be. That's one thing, and then and we'll fix those filtering things. I think the grid, you're exactly right about the grid view. The grid is for complex layout structures, sort of structures within structures. And so your use case is exactly right. Unfortunately, it's very difficult to automatically interpret how that should flow into mobile. And there are some systems that do it, but it is challenging, right? Because you're really wanting to try to link those different sections together to know how they're going to flow nicely. So I'm not sure, particularly in the short term, I'm not sure that we will have an automatic process for viewing on mobile for complex grid layouts. The way that the workaround that you've done is perfect when the filtering is working correctly. So that's a little bug to have that fixed. And then different preview options. And then was Justin talking about the browser options?
One more question around the purchase form. So I recently did some marketplace pages for Franklin's event, and simple, still kind of in beta, simple pages. And the purchase form, essentially, when someone would go to check out, it would essentially be a several page experience on the purchase form. So they first put in their contact information and click next. I forget what the name of the button was, but basically click next. And then they put in their shipping information. Then they click next. And then it was billing information next. And then finally was the credit card information and then purchase. What I noticed today is that the purchase form is just one long form where all that information, contact, shipping, billing, payment information is all in one, which I don't love. And I feel like potentially scares. I mean, there's some psychology to having one piece at a time, right? So you get some investment when someone hits that page. It's like, oh man, I got to fill out all this information. Now, granted, hopefully people that are coming to the event are vested enough that they're willing to put in information, but not a major issue. But I'm just curious, is that the intent, is to have that purchase form kind of be all one version? And I see
I think
Amy waving.
Blue talked about that yesterday. And
Ah.
at the end of the day, and explained that going through each of those specific blocks, they felt like there was some psychology to, and I got to push another button, and I got to push another button.
Ah, okay. People were not
And-
making it all the way through checkout.
Yeah. And so this way they can see the end of the tunnel and they can work their way down through that.
I see. Okay, very good. I've been
It's a good
updated.
example of pros and cons of both, right? And I can see the pros and cons of both ways of doing it.
Okay, cool. So that was an intentional decision made, and I trust the decision maker. So I think I'm all set. I'll submit a little
I
bug
think-
report for the filtering.
Yeah, and I'll check in with Blue on that as well, and the preview, the mobile preview. We want to tidy that up a little as well, make that a bit easier. So we'll play around with that. Thank you. That's good. And the page looks great too. Nice work on that.
Hey, Grant, I got a little feedback on that page for you.
Yeah.
In the
Yeah.
order form, there's a checkbox that says, is your shipping address the same as billing? And normally on order forms, if that's checked, it hides all the shipping info. The shipping, all the shipping fields are still shown, still editable. It doesn't fill it in as I'm typing in my actual address. So it makes me think I need to refill it in.
Good call. Yep. I'm just making a note of that. Yeah, it's funny, all the things, you build things from scratch, and then you sit there and we go around in a circle. We're kind of scratching our heads like, what's the normal experience for this? It's like, oh yeah, we actually have to build that in and make that hide that and make it really clear that that's what the experience is, and what's the layout of that and stuff. So anyway, not complaining, it's just what the process is. All right. Next question.
Yeah, Justin wants to know if there is a way for a developer to interface into the Obvio API.
For enterprise users, yes. So on the enterprise plan, you can have access to the public API, and then you can do get yourself into all sorts of trouble by adding attendees and removing them and updating and all the things you'd expect that you can do, particularly with attendees.
Is that access only for organizations within my account, or would that be across the board?
It would be within your account. Yeah. Yeah, we can talk more about how that might work, but because I get it when you're helping other people with other accounts. It's the same,
especially leapers, because leapers have their own accounts
and they want to use their own accounts. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Let me chat with Blue about it. Okay.
Does anyone
Any
else have
questions?
any questions? We don't have any in the form section. Make it a free for all. Just start talking.
Everyone talk at the same time. Robin?
I had a participant fill out let me start again. She bought a ticket and I had it marked as required for billing and shipping information for swag, and it never requested her to fill that out, and it let her go through the process and register without doing so. Has that been fixed?
In what step was this? This was in the purchase page, or you mean it
Yeah.
actually
On the purchase page, it was supposed to require her to fill out shipping information and she didn't. And it still let her go ahead.
I'll double check on that. Cool. Yeah, I'll check on that, and that should work as expected. So I'll double check. Justin?
I wanted to expand maybe on the API question a little of what I'm actually ultimately trying to do, because maybe you actually have suggestions. So one of my clients wants to be able to send reminder emails that sessions are started, but only for people that haven't already joined Zoom or aren't currently potentially in Zoom. And so I was thinking the API, 'cause I have ways to get attendance out of Zoom. So I was thinking the APIs, but I didn't know is there a better way, to kind of do that?
Kind of. There's a couple of ways. So one is the checked in tag, which I know is not for Zoom, but is
man. That
Jane,
me.
you're unmuted,
Sorry.
Jane. Sorry to bore you.
Sorry. I'm so tired.
Fair enough. So the checked in is once they've hit the dashboard, right? Which is what we were talking about in when we were saying about the 500 active attendees, is that they're active once they've hit the dashboard. So that checked in tag is something that you can filter in communication, right? So that's one of the basic ones, is just say that they're checked in or they're not checked in. The other thing though you could do is Zoom attendance, and in the Zoom, using Zoom attendance data, you can schedule. Have you played around with that, being able to schedule a tag to happen based on Zoom attendance data? Have you seen that?
I have seen it. I thought Zoom attendance was only after the meeting was over.
No, it's not.
Let's talk more about that then.
Yeah. So it is available now. You can do some testing on this, but we tend to sort of say about a kind of 15-minute window, something like that, to use. And so you can nominate a point in time, schedule it so that the point in time is what you're taking to then tag people. And then obviously you just set your communication to go out based on that tag that you've set. So, and that is Zoom attendance data, because for your information, we're using the webhook data, right? So we're getting webhook data from Zoom. We're storing that, and there is a little process, depending on how big the event is and how much is logging going through. There's a bit of a queue, but once that queue has gone through, which obviously is just minutes, not hours, then that data is now available. And so if you set your window, your Zoom attendance window, and then the schedule for the tag to happen, and then the schedule for the broadcast to happen, all of this can be all done ahead of time and would be automated.
And can you remind me where I can see the Zoom attendance in Obvio again?
Yeah. So Zoom areas. Let me just show you what I was talking about. You can see it too. Zoom areas, Zoom attendance.
Looks like I need it turned on for a few clients then.
Yeah, Justin, if you send their names or their email addresses, I can turn that on for them.
Would do.
So then you choose the window then you can schedule. It'll show when you're actually looking at the window. I was going to try to do 24. That's not going to be great. If we were, that would be an interesting test actually.
You can click on the little year at the top corner and it will go to the year that you want.
I was not thinking straight where I was like, how many years do I need to skip past? All right. You people are still in the past. I'm in August already. So then if we were to say, we'll just start there. This is a bit excruciating for you to watch, isn't it? There we go. There we go. Little 1 hour. It makes a liar of me. There we go. So there we go. Seeing the people that were there. And so what we can do here, sorry, I've got to choose a room first. Based on an area. So I can then say, add an Obvio tag. So for the 22, I can say whatever. I'll do it as a tag. Or whatever. Maybe let me just think. So I just wanted to tag as in Zoom. And then instead of hitting confirm, I want to schedule when this happens. Right. So everything that I was just doing then, I could set these start and end times to be in the future as my window that I'm talking about. And then when do I want the actual action to happen? And so what we're recommending is that, like 5-10 minutes, something like that, after the window, give it time for the data to get in there and to be all settled. You schedule this. So whatever, just that can be whenever, right? But you're scheduling it to actually apply based on the data that's in this window, apply the tag at this particular time. And so then you'll see that scheduled. So it's pending there, it's sitting there, it's going to apply the tag for that window at this time. And yeah. So then, of course, you've got a tag that's been set, and now you can use your normal communication to send out based on that tag, or for people that don't have this tag, exclude people that don't have this tag. Then yeah. So there you go. You don't need an API for that.
Don't need an API for that.
There you go. So have a play around with that, because I think you might. That's a great use case what you're talking about. I hadn't thought of it like that. So yeah.
So another feature request for those services. It'd be great if we had another field that we could populate to add things in besides labels. One of my clients doesn't use the Go High Level integration because they add things like the state that the person's from, but they don't want Go High Level to actually go and update the person's last name. And they don't want to have 52 tags that they have to try to maintain. They just want to get it out of the state field and Go High Level. So they actually use Zapier to send in first and last name to control it, which makes it not so fun to actually do this integration because we don't have the Go High Level integration hooked in. Other clients, this is going to be great. But it'd be great if we had an extra field we could pull in, or fields to append onto like last name.
100%. Yeah. It makes a lot of sense. Yeah, I would like to be able to sync as many fields as you want. You know, if you've got extra data there and you want to be able to use it in Obvio, then match them up and have it sync, you know. I'll make a note. All right. Jane.
I'll try not to yawn this time in your face. Is there a sample purchase page that we can like that doesn't have Latin or all that other junk in those blocks? That's I can't tell what all that is. I'd like to see one that's like a sample.
Yeah.
You have one?
Yeah, so there are
Like, is there one
examples.
for TVE? There were one for
Yeah.
TVs, so I could go to TEV where you could put me a link or something, maybe. And I could look at one.
Yeah.
That'd be great. Thank you.
I'll try to find that.
Okay. Thank you.
Sure.
Appreciate it.
Let me see if I can see it. All right. Any other questions? Otherwise, I'll get ready to take my kids to school. Yeah, okay. The TVE page is not in Marketplace yet. So there's some test pages that have been made, but there's not sort of a complete one at the moment. So, but I'll ask Blue about that, and we will get some examples
Okay. Thank you.
made up.
Yeah.
Sure.
I saw some when I first joined in the Facebook community, but I didn't know what they were, and so I didn't save them and I was like, what are these? And I couldn't figure out what they were. But they're not there now. So thank you.
Cool. All right. Yeah, we'll definitely have more as people are starting to use it more and more. Then we'll have some great examples that you'll be able to have a look at and get inspiration from. So we'll play around with that. Great. Thanks, Jane. All right. I just got word that Heather passed her nursing school. Officially a nurse. Can we call you Nurse Heather now?
I still have to get my license technically, but I'm done with the school portion.
I'm sure in many ways you are done with it. You're very much done with it.
I'm so done with it.
There's a lot of hard work.
Congratulations.
A lot of hard work.
This is so much more fun than nursing, though, Heather. You're going to miss that.
I'll stay on for a while.
You cross over for a bit. You can chill out with just doing some Obvio work. Nice.
Should be able to
Well, thank you.
just jump on those late night shifts and see how we're doing.
That's right. She's going to moonlight. You can have two jobs at the same time.
This is the bedpan free zone.
Yeah.
No having to wipe people's bottoms here.
Anymore. All
Does
right.
anybody know like the schedule for TVE 8? Like when to fly in, what time it starts? Well, I think it starts the 17th or 14th, 15, 16, 17, but do you fly in a day early and then take your kids to school? Does anyone? Oh, bless it. Oh, goodness gracious.
Jane,
So
in my understanding, Muddy, who was going to go? Somebody was going to tell you.
Jane,
Sorry,
so are you going to Charleston in person?
Yeah, I'm thinking about flying, but I need to make a flight and I don't know whether to come in on the 13th or the 14th or what time.
So first of all, I think when you registered, you may have gotten a confirmation email that has all
Oh.
the details and
Oh, great.
recommended times to come in. However, what I'll tell you is TVE is day 1, day 2, day 3. But if you're there in person, one of the most valuable things is day 0 is an all-day mastermind of just the people who are in person. So you want to make sure you're there actually on day -1, right? So 2 days before the start of TVE is when you want to arrive, because the day before will be the in-person mastermind, and then day 1, day 2, day 3 of the event.
Okay, so I have dates 14 through 17 in my calendar. I wonder if that includes that day for Leaper on the 14th, because 15th, 16th, 17th would be 3 days. But anyway, I'll look at my emails and see if I can find it. Thank you. Appreciate it. Thanks.
Righto.
Thanks,
Thank you,
Grant.
everyone. Everyone wish Livy a good day at school.
Yes. Have fun. Bet she's a good student.
Have fun,
Great student.
Livy.
Bye, everyone.